My wife left me a list of 100 things wrong with you on our anniversary. I read every item. Then I left her a list of one thing, my lawyer's contact. She laughed until she realized I'd already filed. Original post. I, 38 male, work as a logistics coordinator for a shipping company. Not glamorous, steady income, predictable hours. My wife and I have been married for 9 years, together for 12. Our 10th anniversary was supposed to be next month, but last Tuesday was the anniversary of our first date, something we'd always celebrated as our day since we started dating. I came home from work with flowers, yellow roses, her favorite, a reservation at the Italian place where we had our first dinner together. I'd even got her a bracelet, nothing crazy expensive, maybe $400, but it had our initials engraved. I was feeling good, optimistic. Things have been tense lately, sure, but I thought we were just in a rough patch. Every marriage has them. She was sitting at the kitchen table when I walked in. No greeting, no smile, just sitting there with a glass of wine and an envelope. Happy anniversary, I said, holding out the flowers. She didn't take them. Instead, she slid the envelope across the table. Open it. I set down the flowers. Open the envelope. Inside was a typed list, single-spaced, both sides of 3 pages. The header read, 100 things wrong with you. I'm not going to share all of them. Some were petty. You chew too loud. You leave cabinet doors open. Some were cruel. You'll never be as successful as my father. I settled for you. Some were deeply personal things I'd told her in confidence, weaponized. You cried during movies like a child. Your anxiety makes you pathetic. Number 34 was, I've never had a real orgasm with you. Number 58 was, your mother's death wasn't that sad. She was sick for years. Get over it. Number 91 was, I only married you because my ex got engaged first. I read every single item, all 100. Took maybe 15 minutes. She watched me the whole time, sipping her wine, waiting for a reaction, waiting for me to cry, probably, or yell, or beg her to explain what I'd done wrong. When I finished, I set the pages down neatly, stood up, went to my home office. She called after me. That's it? You're not going to say anything? I came back with a single index card, placed it on the table in front of her. Written on it, one thing, attorney's name and phone number. She looked at it. Then she laughed. Actually laughed like I told a joke. What is this supposed to be? You think you're being clever? I filed for divorce 3 weeks ago. You'll be served tomorrow. The laugh died. Her face went through about 6 emotions in 3 seconds. You're bluffing. I'm not. The papers are already filed. I consulted with a lawyer the day after your sister's birthday party, when you told everyone at dinner that I was barely adequate as a husband. I've been documenting everything since then. She stood up so fast her wine glass tipped over. Red wine spreading across the white tablecloth like blood. You can't do that. We haven't even tried counseling. You just handed me 100 reasons why you think I'm worthless. On our anniversary, with wine already poured, like you were celebrating. What exactly would counseling fix? This is insane. You're overreacting. I picked up the flowers I brought, dropped in the trash can, walked to the bedroom, and started packing a bag. Where are you going? You can't just leave. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. The papers will explain everything about temporary arrangements. My lawyer will be in touch with yours, assuming you get one. She followed me to the bedroom, still yelling. Something about how I was proving her right by being emotionally unavailable and running away from conflict. I didn't engage, just pack what I needed for a few days. The last thing she said as I walked out the door, you'll come crawling back. You always do. You're too weak to actually leave. I didn't respond, just closed the door behind me. Update 1 week later. She got served Thursday morning. I know because my phone started blowing up around 10 a.m. First text. This is a joke, right? Second text. We need to talk. Call me. Third text. You're being ridiculous. Come home so we can discuss this like adults. Fourth text. Fine. Be childish. But you're not getting anything in this divorce. I didn't respond to any of them. My lawyer had advised minimal contact, everything through legal channels. Thursday afternoon, her mother called. I let it go to voicemail. I don't know what my daughter did to deserve this, but you're making a huge mistake. After everything her father and I did for you two, the wedding alone cost us $30,000. You owe this family more than running away over some silly argument. Call me back immediately. I saved the voicemail, forwarded it to my lawyer. Didn't call back. Friday, her sister showed up at my hotel. I made the mistake of using a credit card at the front desk. She must have checked the statements since we still had shared access to view accounts. I hadn't moved money or closed anything yet because my lawyer said to keep the status quo until the court addressed finances. She was waiting in the lobby when I came down for breakfast. What the hell is wrong with you? Good morning to you too. Don't get cute with me. My sister is devastated. She's been crying for 2 days straight. You need to go home and fix this. Your sister handed me a list of 100 things she hates about me on our anniversary, including that she only married me because her ex got engaged first. What exactly should I be fixing? Her face flickered. She clearly hadn't heard about the list. That's just venting. Couples do that. You don't file for divorce over it. I've been documenting her behavior for weeks. This wasn't one bad day. This was the final confirmation that she doesn't respect me as a person, let alone a husband. Documenting? What does that even mean? It means I have records, screenshots, dates and times of every cruel comment, every public humiliation, every time she's told me I'm worthless in front of other people. Like your birthday party. Did you think I'd just forget that? She didn't have a response. Just stood there opening and closing her mouth. Tell your sister to get a lawyer. Mine will be in touch. I walked past her to the breakfast area. She didn't follow. Saturday was quiet. I spent it looking for apartments. Found a reasonable one-bedroom about 15 minutes from work. First and last month's rent would clean out my personal savings, but I needed somewhere to go. Sunday, my wife sent a different kind of message. I shouldn't have given you that list. I was frustrated. I've been unhappy for a long time, and I handled it wrong. But you filing for divorce without talking to me first is extreme. Can we please just have a conversation? No lawyers, no drama. Just us. For a second, I almost believed it was genuine. Almost. Then I remembered item 78 on the list. You're gullible. It's embarrassing how easy you are to manipulate. I screenshotted the text and sent it to my lawyer. Then I responded, all communication through attorneys going forward. She didn't reply. Update 2, 3 weeks later. The wheels of divorce turned slowly. But some things happened fast. First, she hired a lawyer. An expensive one, based on the letterhead. Her father. As paying, I assume, she doesn't have that kind of money on her own. Her lawyer's first move was aggressive. A motion claiming I abandoned the marital home and demanding I continue paying the mortgage, utilities, and her accustomed lifestyle expenses while proceedings continued. The amount requested was basically my entire paycheck. My lawyer countered with the documentation I'd been collecting. Every cruel text, every public humiliation, witness statements from 3 friends who'd seen her berate me at social gatherings. And the list itself, all 100 items, submitted as evidence of emotional abuse. The judge didn't rule on accustomed lifestyle. Instead, she ordered mediation and a temporary arrangement where I'd pay half the mortgage since my name was on it, but nothing extra for a lifestyle. My wife was furious. I heard through mutual friends that she'd expected me to fold immediately. Expected me to come crawling back, begging forgiveness, just like she'd predicted. Instead, I signed a lease on the apartment. Moved my clothes, my books, my personal items. Nothing we bought together, just my stuff. Left the furniture, the art, everything that was ours. That's when the real game started. Her mother called my parents. My parents. Told them I was abandoning their daughter-in-law and that they should talk sense into their son before he ruins his life. My mom called me that night, confused and upset. I explained everything. Sent her photos of the list. She was quiet for a long time. I never liked how she spoke to you, Mom said finally. At Christmas 2 years ago, she called you useless in front of everyone and laughed like it was a joke. I should have said something then. It's okay, Mom. I should have listened to myself sooner. What can I do to help? Nothing. Just don't let them guilt you into thinking this is my fault. My dad, in his typical fashion, said only one thing. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. Let me know if you need money for the lawyer. That meant more than I can express. The next dirty trick came the following week. I got a call from my HR department. Someone had anonymously reported that I was experiencing a mental health crisis and might be a danger to myself or others. The HR rep was apologetic but firm. Company policy required a wellness check and documentation from a mental health professional before I could return to work. I knew exactly who'd made that call. Fortunately, my therapist, yes, I'd started therapy, something my wife always mocked me for considering, was able to provide documentation within 48 hours. He wrote a very clear letter stating I was dealing with a difficult marital situation, but showed no signs of crisis, self-harm ideation, or danger to others. HR apologized and cleared me, but I'd lost 2 days of work, and the seed of doubt had been planted with my employer. I added the HR incident to my documentation. My lawyer said it was clear evidence of harassment and bad faith. More importantly, it showed a pattern of trying to control the narrative outside of legal channels. The next few days brought more pressure. Her cousin, someone I'd barely spoken to in 9 years of marriage, messaged me on LinkedIn of all places, a professional networking site. The message was a guilt trip about tearing apart a family and how I should think about what you're throwing away. I didn't respond, screenshotted it, added it to the file. Then came the text from her friends. Women I'd been cordial with at parties, never close with. Suddenly they all had opinions. She's really struggling. You should at least hear her out. Marriage takes work, you know. I responded to exactly one of them. Someone who'd seemed halfway reasonable in the past. Did she show you the list? What list? Ask her about the 100 things. Then get back to me. She never did. The mediation was scheduled for the following Tuesday. I prepared for war. Update 3, 2 weeks later, mediation. Mediation was supposed to be a civilized process. 2 lawyers, a mediator, and 2 adults trying to divide their lives fairly. That's not what happened. My wife showed up with her lawyer and her mother. Her mother wasn't allowed in the actual mediation room. The mediator shut that down immediately, but she sat in the waiting area, glaring at me whenever I passed. The first hour was assets. Our house had about $80,000 in equity. I proposed selling it and splitting the proceeds 50-50ths. She wanted to keep the house and have me buy her out of my half, which would mean me paying her $40,000 I didn't have. Her lawyer argued that I had abandoned the property and therefore forfeited my claim. My lawyer countered with evidence that I'd left due to documented emotional abuse, not abandonment. The mediator, to her credit, wasn't buying my wife's narrative. She asked my wife directly, "Is it true you gave your husband a written list of 100 criticisms on your anniversary?" My wife's lawyer tried to intervene, but the mediator held up her hand. I'd like to hear from her directly. My wife shifted in her seat. It was a communication exercise, something I read about online. You write down your frustrations to process them. And you gave this list to your husband on your anniversary? I wanted him to understand how unhappy I was. Did the exercise suggest giving the list to your partner? Or was it meant for personal processing? Silence. Then quietly, personal processing. So you chose to share it. On your anniversary. Is that accurate? Yes. The mediator made a note. Her expression was unreadable, but I felt something shift in the room. The second hour was worse for her. Her lawyer tried to introduce the argument that I'd been emotionally distant for years, that I'd refused to communicate, that I'd checked out of the marriage long ago. Classic Darvo stuff: deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. My lawyer calmly produced the timeline. Every documented incident. The Christmas dinner 3 years ago, where she called me her biggest disappointment in front of both families. The dinner party last spring, where she told the host, loudly, that I was basically furniture that occasionally takes out the trash. The text message from 8 months ago, where she wrote, "I don't know why I'm still married to someone so mediocre." All of it, dated, documented, some with witness statements. Her lawyer's face got progressively tighter. He clearly hadn't been given the full picture by his client. These are isolated incidents, he tried, taken out of context. There are 37 documented incidents over 3 years, my lawyer interrupted. That's not isolated. That's a pattern. And the list of 100 criticisms wasn't an isolated incident either. It was the culmination of years of belittling behavior. By the end of the session, we'd agreed to sell the house and split equity 50-50ths. My wife's lawyer fought hard for spousal support, citing her reduced earning capacity during the marriage. My lawyer pointed out that she'd worked full-time the entire time we were married, made nearly as much as I did, and had voluntarily reduced her hours 2 years ago against my advice. The mediator recommended no spousal support. My wife's face went red. This is insane. I gave him 9 years of my life. Ma'am, the mediator said calmly, you both contributed to this marriage. The court isn't here to punish either party, but your documented behavior suggests you may have contributed to its breakdown. My behavior. He's the one who filed. He's the one who left. After receiving a written list of 100 criticisms that included statements like, she checked her notes, I only married you because my ex got engaged first and your mother's death wasn't that sad. Is that accurate? My wife had nothing to say. We scheduled a follow-up session for the following week to finalize everything. The house would go on the market. We'd split the proceeds. No spousal support either way. Each keep our own retirement accounts, which were roughly equal. In the hallway after, her mother was waiting. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed my daughter's life. She handed me a list calling me worthless, pathetic, and easy to manipulate. She told me my dead mother's death wasn't that sad. She tried to get me fired by calling my HR with fake mental health concerns. And I'm the one who destroyed things. Her mother's face twisted. She was venting. Women do that. If you can't handle some honesty about your shortcomings. 100 shortcomings. Written down. Given to me as an anniversary gift. Is that normal venting in your family? She didn't answer. Just grabbed my wife's arm and pulled her toward the elevator. My wife looked back at me once. I expected anger. Maybe even hatred. What I saw was something else. Confusion, maybe. Like she genuinely couldn't understand how this had happened. How her gullible, easy-to-manipulate husband had actually left. Final update, 6 weeks later. The divorce was finalized last Thursday. Quicker than I expected, honestly. When both parties agree to the terms, even grudgingly, the court moves fast. The final hearing was brief. The judge reviewed the mediated agreement, asked both parties if we understood and accepted the terms, and signed off. My ex-wife didn't look at me once. Her lawyer did all the talking. Outside the courthouse, I expected some kind of confrontation. Her mother had shown up, sitting in the gallery like she was attending a trial for a murder case. But they left through a different exit, probably for the best. The house sold in 3 weeks for slightly above asking. After paying off the mortgage, closing costs, and splitting the remainder, I walked away with $38,000. Not life-changing money, but enough to furnish my apartment, pay off my car, and put a cushion in savings. She got the same amount. Based on what I heard through mutual friends, she's furious about it. Expected to keep the house. Expected spousal support. Expected me to be so desperate to avoid conflict that I'd give her whatever she wanted. Her father apparently offered to buy me out at one point, trying to keep the house and the family. My lawyer advised against it. Taking money from them would have complicated things and potentially given them leverage. I declined. They were not happy. But here's the thing about documenting everything. It works. The list she gave me became Exhibit A in demonstrating that this wasn't a marriage worth saving. Her HR stunt became Exhibit B in demonstrating bad faith. Every public humiliation I'd endured, documented with dates and witnesses, painted a picture of a pattern. Not a single bad day. The aftermath has been mostly quiet. Her family has cut off contact entirely, which is fine. We didn't share many mutual friends. She'd always preferred her people, so I haven't lost much socially. The few mutual friends who've reached out have been surprisingly supportive. One told me she'd witnessed my wife mock me at a party last year and had felt uncomfortable but didn't know what to say. I should have said something, she told me. That wasn't normal teasing. That was cruel. I appreciated that, even if it was late. Financially, I'm tighter than before. Divorce isn't cheap, even when it goes relatively smoothly. Lawyer fees ate about $8,000 from my side. The apartment costs more than my half of the mortgage did. I'm rebuilding from a smaller base than I had 6 months ago. But I'm rebuilding. The aftermath for her hasn't been smooth either, for what I've heard. Her mother's been telling anyone who'll listen that I'm a monster who abandoned her daughter. But apparently the story about the list got out. I didn't spread it, but someone at the mediation must have talked, and the sympathy she expected isn't materializing the way she hoped. Her sister reached out once, about a month after the divorce was final. Not to apologize exactly, but to say she understood why I left and that she'd always thought the way my ex talked about me was wrong. Too little, too late, but I thanked her for saying it. As for the mutual friends who'd taken her side initially, a few have quietly come back around. One guy used to play poker with sent me a text last week. Heard about the list. That's messed up. Sorry I wasn't there for you, man. I told him no hard feelings. People believe what they're told until they learn the full story. The therapist has been helpful. We've been unpacking why I stayed so long, why I accepted treatment that I shouldn't have, why I took a written list of 100 insults to finally make me act. The answers aren't comfortable, but they're necessary. I'm not dating, not even close to ready. Trust is going to take a long time to rebuild, and I need to figure out who I am outside a relationship that apparently was built on contempt from the beginning. My ex-wife now, apparently told people that I blindsided her, that I never communicated my unhappiness, that I threw away 9 years over one mistake. The people who know the truth know it. The people who believe her narrative probably weren't ever going to believe anything else. Last week, I got one final text from her. Unknown number, but the writing style was unmistakable. I hope you know you ruined both our lives. I was trying to help you see your flaws so you could improve. That's what partners do. You couldn't handle honesty, and now we're both alone. I hope that list keeps you warm at night. I read it once, screenshotted it for records, then blocked the number. Showed it to my therapist at our next session. He had an interesting take. She's still reframing. Notice she calls cruelty honesty. She calls 100 insults helping you improve. She's incapable of seeing what she did as wrong because that would require admitting she's capable of cruelty. It's easier to believe you're too sensitive than to believe she's too cruel. That helped actually, because part of me, the part she spent years conditioning, still wondered if maybe I overreacted. If maybe I should have tried harder. If maybe the list wasn't as bad as I remembered. I reread it once, about a month after the divorce, just to remind myself. It was exactly as bad as I remembered. Worse, actually, because I noticed details I'd missed the first time. Little digs I'd glossed over in the shock of reading it. The way certain items clearly referenced private conversations, things I'd told her in moments of vulnerability, twisted into weapons. She still doesn't get it. Probably never will. The list wasn't honesty. It was cruelty disguised as feedback. Partners don't tell each other their mother's death wasn't that sad. Partners don't tell each other they settled. Partners don't weaponize vulnerabilities shared in trust. What she gave me on our anniversary wasn't a list of things to improve. It was a confession. A 100-item confession that she didn't respect me, didn't love me, and never had. I should thank her, really. She put it all in writing. Made the decision easy. I keep one thing from a marriage. Not the list. That's with my lawyer's files. But I kept the index card I gave her. The one with my lawyer's number. Not as a trophy. As a reminder. Sometimes the best thing you can say is one thing. And sometimes the best thing you can do is act on it. I'm doing okay. Some days are harder than others. But I'm sleeping through the night now, which I wasn't doing for the last 2 years of my marriage. I'm eating regular meals. I'm seeing friends I drifted from because she didn't approve of them. Small things. Quiet things. But mine. That's what I have now. A life that's mine. Smaller than before, quieter than before, but entirely mine. She can keep the list. I got something better. I've got peace.